Hello, welcome to another edition of Issues with JIDE. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, fresh crisis hits Labour Party as Court of Appeal sacks Abure, affirms Apapa as chairman. Also, Bandit declares himself governor of Niger communities. And later on the show, Emefiele seeks plea bargain in 6.9 billion naira fraud case. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's also important to mention that we can only read comments whose names are clear and are about the issues discussed. I've joined me via Zoom, the master himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you again, PKO.
Good days with you again, Ibrahim, and good evening to our viewers.
Right, so let's get into the issues for today. The first is the Court of Appeal in Owerri in Imo State, which sacked Julius Abure and recognized Lamidi Apapa as the national chairman of the Labour Party. It also directed INEC to recognize and publish the names of all the governorship candidates produced by the Apapa-led NWC in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states. It looks like the Labour Party crisis is becoming much of a headache for those who see it as their messianic party.
Yes, it is, and it's a very straightforward matter. Once there is a court order, you've got to find a way to vacate that court order. You've got to find a way to vacate the court order. There is an order of the court in Abuja that's directed Abure to not parade himself as the chairman of the party anymore. That order is in response to a criminal complaint in which Abure and others were accused of forgery, of forging court papers and even stamps of the Labour Party. So if that particular order has not been set aside up to today, there is another of the court that they have succeeded in setting aside. That one has to do with the case in Benin City, where some members of the party, led by certain Shuaibu, suspended the embattled chairman. Of course, that was appealed, and the order was set aside. It was affirmed by the court that those individuals do not have the power. An individual has not got the power to suspend a national ESCO member of the party. So that one, they appealed it and they successfully got the judgment, got the order of the court set aside. But the one emanating from Abuja, filed by the Apapa and his people, in which Abure was accused of forgery, they have not succeeded in setting that one aside. And I'm afraid every action that they take, that Abure takes, and others like him, every action that they take without setting aside the order of the court directing him to stop parading himself as the chairman of the party. If they fail to set that particular order of the court aside, whatever action that they take will be rendered a nullity. So the judgment of the appeal court in Imo, which recognized Apapa as the national chairman of the party and declared that he is the one that INEC should deal with in terms of candidates of the party for the coming off-season governorship elections in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa, can be linked to the order of the court, of the Abuja court, which directed him to not parade himself as the chairman of the party until that criminal matter is sorted out. So it is understandable that the appeal court decided to go decided to take this decision because that order still stands. No court has set it aside. So he will not be recognized as the chairman of the party. And if he takes decisions, if he conducts primaries, those primaries, if they are conducted before the setting aside of the case, of the order of the court, those primaries will amount to nothing. That is what the law says. The first step that you should take is to first set aside the order of a lower court. After having it set aside by a superior court, you then proceed to exercise your functions as the chairman of the party. Without succeeding, with that court matter still there, whatever action that Abure takes will be in contravention of the order of the court, and they will pay for it. This is the way the law runs. So I'm not surprised that the judgment of the appeal court in Imo State ordered INEC to deal with Lamidi Apapa, especially in respect of the primaries of the party for those off-season elections that we held in November. Because as long as the order of the Abuja court ordering Abure to step aside has not been set aside, I'm afraid anybody that Abure, any primaries conducted by Abure and the candidates that emerge from them amounts to a waste of time, because you cannot build something on nothing. And as you can see in Imo, the Imo court ordered INEC to recognize and publish names of candidates produced by the Abure-led faction of the party. That is the order of the Court of Appeal in Imo. As I've said earlier, the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Benin effectively rendered his suspension, Abure's suspension, a nullity. So that one is there. He has to move to have the order of the FCT court vacated, as long as the order of the FCT court is not vacated, because we are dealing with two different cases now. One is in respect of his suspension from his ward in Edo State. That one, the appeal court has given him judgment. But the other one, filed by Abure, in which filed by Apapa, in which the Abuja court ordered him to stop parading himself as the chairman of the party in respect of a criminal charge brought against him and others. He has not got the court to set it aside. As long as things remain like that, whatever Abure does, whoever wins primaries conducted by Abure has wasted his time. So this is the situation. They've got to find a way to have these matters resolved. Otherwise, they'll be moving from one level of illegality to another. And even as we speak, some of the people who won elections on the platform of the Labour Party are even losing in court because opponents are challenging them that they had not stayed long enough in the party before they were put forward as candidates of the party. We've seen Undude Elumelu return defeat his opponent in the House of Reps race on account of that, because the court ruled that his opponent had not stayed long enough in the party to be regarded as a bona fide member of the party. And once he secured that, once Undude Elumelu secured that judgment, you will expect that other people in contention against Labour Party candidates would toe that line. They will push such a case and test the law and see whether they too can win. Faleke just won his case against a Labour Party candidate for the Ikeja federal constituency. And it was the same reason, the same legal principles were used in disqualifying the Labour Party candidate that contested Faleke's victory in the Ikeja federal constituency election into the House of Reps. So Labour Party has serious cases in court that they have to deal with. Otherwise, I can predict that this won't be the last that Abure and others will be embarrassed. They've got to sort out that court judgment that made by the Abuja court. Abusing the judiciary, calling the judiciary names is not the solution. Sort out that judgment. Have a superior court sort out that judgment. Otherwise, whatever actions you take as chairman of the party at this time is a waste of time. It's a waste of time that will amount to nothing in the final analysis.
Right. Fabian Akaise says, shame on Julius Abure for not standing with his comrades. If Peter Obi joins APC, will he be allowed to seize control of the party and become the presidential candidate? No. Peter Obi resigned from Labour Party. Bukola Ayobami says, Babajide, please, we need you back on Journalist Hangout, even if it's via Zoom, pleading from the UK. That's Bukola Ayobami. Well, we need to race on because we are having 3 issues to look at today. Following the report that a bandit declared himself governor of some communities in Niger State, the State Police Command denied this claim about Dogogide, who they said called for allegiance from the communities and assured them of their security and welfare. What do you make of this story, Bikil?
This is not the first time that I will hear Dogogide with his own mouth calling himself governor. When he kidnapped students of Federal Government College, Brinin Yauri in Kebbi State some 2.5 years ago, he similarly called himself the governor because he's one bandit that is difficult to negotiate with. As young as he is, he's extremely difficult to negotiate with. And when he asked for money, and the money was so huge, the person was negotiating with him, told him, but this is too much. He said, then asked him that, do the people in government not have access to bigger sums of money? He said, so treat me with respect. I am the governor of the forest. Therefore, what I ask for, you have to give me. I listened to that conversation done in Hausa, and I'm like, what is going on? What kind of boy is this? You want hundreds of millions of naira, and they told you that this thing is too high. You then declare that you are the governor of the forest, that they should give you what you have asked for. You see, I've seen videos from Niger in which convert to Islam by a band of terrorists. So I am not surprised that this has happened. I'm not surprised in the least that this is being done. Look, even in the Northwest, bandits are in the habit of appointing their own district heads and telling the people to deal with their district heads and pay a certain sum of money to those district heads. Otherwise, they will come and attack them and destroy their farmlands. So this thing is not new. The police coming out to deny that this has happened is to me a waste of time. Because in the Northwest, we know that some of the bandits the people have reached agreement with bandits to pay them some money regularly in exchange for not being attacked, in exchange for access to their farms. And I've seen videos of people being whipped, able-bodied men being flogged because they failed to pay the tax that they were levied by bandits or Boko Haram in some parts of Nigeria. So in exchange for protection, you pledge your allegiance, your loyalty to them, and whatever sum of money they tell you to pay, you will agree to pay so that you can have your peace, so that you can have access to your farms, so that you don't get attacked. This is not new. The police have to go and sit down and stop deceiving us that, as if this sort of thing has never happened. It has happened. It has happened and it is still happening. Bello Turji in the northwest of our country is one of the three most prominent bandit leaders. And Bello Turji is in the habit of appointing district heads for communities under his control. Just the same way that Boko Haram was appointing Amir and other people for communities under their command. So there is now a very thin difference between Boko Haram terrorists and the ubiquitous bandits of northern Nigeria. In terms of modus operandi, they are extremely similar. In terms of the capability of their fighters, they are similar. Because in the past, no one could believe that bandits could shoot down an aircraft. And we have seen that bandits shot down an Alpha jet in down Sadao Forest area of Zamfara State last year. And we've seen another one happen this year. So it's not, these things are not new. They are not new. What is strange to me is somebody coming out to try to deny that this has happened. The towns where they have the people are under the control of these bandits are in the Shiroro area of Niger State. And those towns are Gulana, Apai, Nakuna, Yanka, Kwebe, Kusasu, Kwaki. So these are areas where Dogo Gide, the bandit leader, exercises control over the people. The police cannot tell us that bandits are not in control of certain communities in Nigeria. The police or the army cannot tell us that even as we speak, Boko Haram does not have, is not in control of any community in Nigeria. No. They are in control of some communities in Nigeria. That is the case. Let's leave propaganda. And the people have been under their mercy. They've not been able to get the military to save them from these guys. And because people don't want to die, whatever the bandits tell them to do, they simply do. Was it not before our eyes that a community decided to turban a bandit, made him a chief, a traditional ruler made a bandit a chief in Zamfara state? Because according to them, he was no longer killing the people. Come on. We've got to defeat banditry in our country. And the way to defeat banditry in our country is not to lie that they are not as notorious as they are. It is to take them on frontally. The armed forces should see this as a challenge, take them on, especially now that they are killing soldiers and the Air Force personnel. Should take them on, defeat them, wipe out the threat that they constitute, instead of telling Nigerians that no, it's a lie, they are lying, this and that. Has any policeman been able to meet one-to-one with Dogogide? Do they know where he is? Have they led, as any senior police officer led a team to go and confront Dogogide and put out the threat that it constitutes? The answer is no. The answer is no. It was Dogogide that led the team of terrorists that kidnapped students of government secondary school, Kagara, in Niger State. That is the secondary school that Senator Shehu Sani attended. And they took away those boys. Those that tried to escape, they killed them. It was also Dogogide that kidnapped some women who traveled for a wedding in Niger State. Kidnapped them. He was working with Shekau when that kidnapping took place. It was Dogogide and his men who attacked Air Force personnel who were evacuating wounded troops and the dead from a community in Niger State recently. 22 of those soldiers that they killed were buried in Abuja yesterday or so. Yesterday or day before yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
I think yesterday, yes. Yesterday. So we have to recognize that the threat exists. We should stop deceiving ourselves. We should stop lying. This is not the season of propaganda. To tell the truth just the way it is.
Right, Mikhail.
And Nigerians will appreciate it, yes.
So the issue of banditry is not surprising. Sorry, that's I'm trying to read out comments. That's coming from Fabian, saying that the issue of banditry is not surprising. If the state can enter into the forest to plead and negotiate with bandits, offering them public funds in return for peace, what do they expect would happen? Nelson Adufe says, Dogogide is just a few steps towards his Waterloo. It will be captured and judgment will catch up with him if the federal government can step up their game immediately. Kennedy says, Dr. Badia Melafia told us that bandits and Boko Haram are all the same. Is that not what we are seeing? What happened to Dr. Badia and Commander Kunle Olaomi made certain revelations? So two people are asking you the same question. That's Mohammed Senusi and Oluchukwu Kletus, saying that, good evening, Mr. Abikeo. How can the federal government defeat this so-called Dogogide? What would be your advice to the military?
With intelligence gathering, we will be able to locate where he is and take him out. In the area of intelligence gathering, I don't think we've done enough. Once we are able to do that very well, once we are able to work on our intelligence gathering assets, and we can pinpoint the location of this bandit leader, we are going to put him out. They don't have the capacity of the Nigerian armed forces. They don't have. Yes, they understand the motorcycle from Niger State all the way to Kebbi State. They understand the terrain. But if we have credible, actionable intelligence about the location of Dogogide, we can take out Dogogide, but it's not even the only one. There are still others like him whom we have not succeeded in killing and who are very strong. There are more than 30,000 bandits. So we've got to take them out. We've got to take them out, and it's possible. We cannot give up at this point.
Right, Bikio. So we need to.
And it's true that a lot of them, a lot of terrorists in the northeast have relocated to the northwest and north central. Some of them have joined bandit groups because their activities are criminal in nature. So it has not been difficult for them to come together, work together to attain a similar goal. Look at the attack on the train in Kaduna.
Yeah.
Of course, it's both a combination of banditry and terrorism. So they found a way to fuse banditry with terrorism. So these days it's difficult to say, oh, this guy is simply a bandit. The activities make them both bandits and terrorists. So some are even calling them bandit terrorists. Yes.
That's right. That's right. So we need to change tack by talking about our very last topic, which is about the indications that the embattled suspended CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, may be exploring a plea bargain deal with the federal government. What more do you know about this development, Bikil?
Some of the people that I've spoken with have pointed to that possibility. And sometimes when Nigerian officials tell you this is the reason why this has happened, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. We were told that that Emefiele was not arraigned this week because of the threat of attack on his person. The DSS, the police, and the army, if need be, should be able to provide the cover that Emefiele needs for him to be brought to court to answer to charges brought against him. To simply tell us that in the seat of power, you cannot bring a person to court because you got information that he will be attacked. You need to tell that to the Marines. People are not going to believe that. Some of my sources indicate that the possibility of a plea bargain is very high. And some are even saying that may be the reason he was not arraigned on the day. And just as the DPP has said, the DPP said that there is nothing wrong in a plea bargain, and that if they bring up such an application, that it will be gladly accepted. What really is plea bargain? A plea bargain is a legal process that allows a defendant charged with an offense in court, usually before the trial gets to the advanced stage, to plead guilty for a lesser crime. To plead guilty to a lesser crime in order to get a softer sentence. It allows him to plead guilty to a lesser crime in order to get a softer sentence. Emefiele has been suspended since June 9, and the day after his suspension, he was picked up. This particular case, I want to believe that they have a cast iron case against him. And this case, there is in this case there is no option of fine if convicted. The case of 6.9 billion. It's a 6.9 billion case of conspiracy and contravention of the procurement law of our country. So I want to believe that the DSS and other security agencies have recovered all the cars that they bought, the money, the Emefiele's campaign vehicles, the Siennas, and all of them, the luxury cars. The question is, if you are not certain that you are going to be found guilty, why would you be making efforts to secure a plea bargain? Emefiele's plea bargain matter it's just like your son being accused of being an Indian hemp smoker. You then said, no, it's not possible, it's not possible. And then when you appeared before the school principal, your son admits to smoking Indian hemp. Yeah, admits to committing the offense. That is the nature of plea bargain. If you did not commit the offense, if you are certain that they cannot build a solid case against you, why would you want to ask for plea bargain? A lot of cases in our country have been decided in this manner because they know that once they enter into plea bargain, they will forfeit some of the money that they have stolen, and they will get what amounts to a slap in the wrist, a very easy sentence. Sometimes they will say, okay, you spent 2 or 3 months in detention, that is, you should just go. Those months that you spent in detention would constitute your punishment. You see that done with Cecilia Abure. Abure didn't spend an extra day in detention. They took some money from him and then concluded that, oh, since he had been in detention for some time, you know, that was the end. There is also the matter of the former Controller General of Customs, Diko Inde. Diko Inde was being tried, and one unfaithful day, the Attorney General of the Federation at the time, Malami, just appeared in court and told the court that the federal government had decided to discontinue his matter because the law permits the Attorney General of the Federation to discontinue any criminal case without even asking questions from anyone. That's the sort of power that he has. So he just got to court. It was the EFCC that was brought up a matter before the court, and he came and said they were discontinuing the matter. Clearly, he will have taken the file from the EFCC and said was continuing the matter, and they got him to pay back some money. We have also seen the Accountant General of the Federation pay back about 40 billion from the reported 110 billion that he allegedly stole. Return about 40 billion or so. I've not had the case come up in court since that hefty sum was refunded. So this is how the rich men roll in our country. And Emefiele looking at this sum, because I don't possibly know how Emefiele can escape this one. Because the claim is that he used his position to enrich a staff of the CBN. Of course, this is gross misconduct because that company belongs to a staff working with Emefiele. Such a contract shouldn't have been even awarded to her in the first place. But we saw that happened. And at this point, anything can happen the next time the case comes up. But would that be the end?
Yeah.
I know that so many cases, they are working on so many cases against this man. If he escapes one, he's not likely to escape another one. But this one now, because there is no option of fine, he knows that if they can prove the case against him, he's going to 5 years in prison. So without an option of fine. So I'm not surprised that these moves are being made, because I'm in Abuja and some of the people that I've spoken to are pointing to the possibility of this league again. 6.9 billion for Nigerians rich fat cats. It's not a lot of money. You can easily come up with it and avoid going to jail for 5 years. But it's unfortunate. If I have my way, plea bargain will not be part of our laws. People should go to jail where the offense that they've committed require that they be put in jail, instead of finding a way to just do plea bargain and avoid going to jail. The poor man has no means of doing plea bargain. Once the poor man is caught, the full weight of the law is brought upon him and he goes to jail. But
that's right.
Rich people don't like going to jail. They rather come up with a plea bargain.
Absolutely. We out of time, but before we go, let me quickly take one or two comments here. Bukola Ayobami says, so it's true Emefiele bought all these cars, and we have some TV stations supporting him. Let us hold our hands and look at the end of the case, but I wish he can face the full weight of the law. Nelson Adufe says, Emefiele should not be released on bail as many lives were lost, businesses crumbled, and several disasters that affected national economy and lives due to his intentional wickedness of misuse of office. Fabian says, PMB must be probed as a sat mute and watched his appointees cause extreme harm to the Nigerian economy as long as his cabal and family were taken care of and amassed ill-gotten wealth. Pro PMB now. Shakiru Abiono says, after the plea bargain, will he still be arraigned for naira confiscation? Because I want him to be punished for that event. It showed that Emefiele made for himself lots of foes, especially with the unpopular naira recolor. How do we describe it at that time? BK, you want to speak to that very quickly in less than a minute?
Yes, the question as to whether he will still face trial. I'm convinced that even if he survives this one, they will come up with another one. He doesn't know what he's up against. He doesn't know what he's up against. And the people behind his troubles are not ready yet to let him go. So they can look at this sum like, oh, 6.9 billion is not a lot of money. But it's a crime against the state. And the law permits the DSS to investigate economic crimes of national security dimension. I'm sure they are going to keep him and still find another case against him. But it's a good thing. All the vehicles that they bought for his campaign, they've been recovered, and I think to a large extent, guilt has been established. It's difficult to say this, but at the last hearing, neither the prosecution nor the defense even showed up in court. So that should tell you that maybe they were working on something.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see what happens.
Interesting. All right, sir, and that's our show for today's edition of Issues with JIDE. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses as always. all the way from Abuja.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. So happy to do this. And we'll do this again next week. Wherever we find ourselves, we'll still do this program.
Absolutely. And thanks to you, to our audience, for joining us on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG and also at Ibrahim TVC News. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.